Hey, what's up? Hello, welcome to my little corner of the internet. My name is Sarah, and today I'm going to be talking about my 25 in 2025 with a bit of a twist. So, I am a massive mood reader, but I also love making lists. Like, love them. I will make a TBR and then not stick to it, like, at all. I also have what the Queen Jenna Marbles used to call the too much gene. Perfect example of this. Last year, I tried to make a 24 in 2024, and I ended up making 4 5x5 bingo boards worth of books that I wanted to read. Did I read them all? No. Was I really ambitious? Yes. This year, I want to try something different. So I chose 25 authors that I want to read instead of 25 books because I love a challenge. I love a bingo board. I love a prompt, but I also like having a lot more wiggle room than just putting specific books on a bingo board or a list would provide me. So here are my 25 authors that I want to read in 2025. Okay, first up we have Mona Awad. As we all know, she wrote Bunny, All Too Well, and Rouge, among other things, I'm sure. I did read Dracula a couple years ago and absolutely loved it. And that kind of opened me up to reading more horror. I read Bury Your Gaze, The Haunting of Falkwood, although someone called that horror, but and a couple other things this year that I really, really enjoyed. So I'm really interested in reading some more. So you'll see some horror on here along with a bunch of different genres. You also might be able to tell that I made this list around spooky time too. But yeah, Mona Watt's the first one. Second, we have Bill Bryson. He is a nonfiction nature writer. My mom loves his books. I started reading A Walk in the Woods in November for Nonfiction November. Listened to a few chapters before the audiobook went back to my library. So I haven't completed that book, but I do want to read the whole thing and maybe some more. I do have a couple of his books. My copy of A Walk in the Woods is falling apart, so I decided not to read that physically. Next we have Mary Roach. I don't think I had ever even heard of her until I saw Amy from A Star Reads reading one of her books about death. I can't remember what it was called. I've since learned that she has a variety of different nonfiction topics, and one of my goals this year is to read more nonfiction and not just just memoirs, but more like varied topics. Next, we have Junji Ito. I'm a little nervous for this one. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it might be a little more extreme than I'm used to, but I'm really excited to try it out. I know that a bunch of booktubers that I watch love Junji Ito, so you know, FOMO, I guess. But yeah, his stuff just looks really interesting, and I'm excited to challenge myself with some translated horror and more darker topics. Next up, we have John Scalzi. I don't know much about any of his books. I just know that I saw Starter Villain, the cover for it, and was immediately like, I need to read that. That looks really interesting. So I really want to read Starter Villain. The Kaiju Preservation Society sounds really interesting. Also, I don't know what it's about, but his 2025 release, When the Moon Hits Your Eye, I just, it sounds like it's going to be a good time. I love puns like that, or I love authors being silly in their titles or whatever. I know there's a lot of song lyrics as titles recently, and some people are getting annoyed about it. You know what? I love it. One of my favorite books of last year was You're the Problem, It's You by Emma Albin. That You'll Remember Me. Also a release coming out. Can't wait for that. Next up, we have Ashely Winstead. I didn't realize, I forgot that I had read something by her. I read one of her romances. I think it was Fool Me Once or Fool You Once, Fool Me Once. I don't quite remember. And I liked it, but I really want to delve into her more horror. The Last Housewife, I believe it's called. Yeah, The Last Housewife and In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I've heard really good things about both of those. Haven't heard the greatest things about her newest release, Something Midnight. Next up, I have Angela Davis. I am embarrassed that I've never read anything by her. And if I have, it was in like a class or something, or like an excerpt. Incredible woman. Need to read some of her stuff. My nonfiction reading, especially, seems to have been by a lot of white people, and that is not okay. Next, I want to read from Bell Hooks. I ashamedly don't think I had even really heard of them until the past few years, and I saw Capri from Capri's Book Island reading several of her books not too long ago. Specifically, I am really interested in reading Ain't I a Woman and All About Love. I'm very excited to read from her perspective talking about Black feminism. We can all stand to broaden our horizons a bit because feminism isn't feminism if it's not intersectional. Next up, we have Akwaeke Emezi, another author that I technically have read before. I read Pet last year and really liked it. I do have Bitter currently available on my Libby, and I also want to read You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, and I'm also interested in Freshwater. Hopefully, I can get Bitter read very soon because I do have like 1,000 audiobooks out from Libby right now, but it's not too long of a book. Is it middle grade? I think it might be middle grade. Which, side note, middle grade horror is some of the scariest horror I've ever read. Just putting that out there. Anyway, next up we have Brahm, Slewfoot. I had it out from the library a couple years ago around spooky time, never read it, but the illustrations are incredible, and I want to read like everything he has. Next up we have Darcy Coates. I have a huge backlist of books by her to read. Recently discovered that I think I really like haunted house books, which is interesting because if you had told me that 10 years ago, I would have been, nope, no, thank you. I read The September House in September this past year. I haven't finished it, but I was loving The Good House by Tananarive Due. And I also read The Spite House a couple years ago and absolutely loved it by Johnny Compton. So I'm thinking maybe one of her haunted house books, but we'll see. I also have Voices in the Snow. Last year, I accidentally bought Voices in the Snow instead of Dead of Winter for Kitty from Spicy Cats Reads Book Club, and I haven't picked it up since. Should probably get on that, but I'm really excited for multiple of her books. Next up, we have S.A. Chakraborty. I have read The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. Didn't think of that before making this list. Whatever. I do have City of Brass. I tried reading it a couple times, but I just couldn't quite get into it. I think he was trying to read it for a readathon or something, and not the best idea. So I do really want to read City of Brass, give it another try. Can't wait for Amina Al-Sarafi #2. I absolutely loved that book. Next up, we have Trevor Noah. Love him. Also, shout out to him because he had Judy Heumann on the show. Basically, the mother of disability rights, modern disability rights. Love both of them. Side note, check her out. Judy, Heumann. Fantastic woman. But that's not what this is about. This is about Trevor Noah, and I just really want to know more about his history and growing up in South Africa. His book is called Born a Crime, so I'm assuming it's going to be pretty intense, but I'm very excited. And also, this just randomly is going to fit a prompt for a challenge that I'm doing. It's the 52 book club, and the prompt is to read a book whose author, their last name is also a first name, so Trevor Noah. So maybe if I put it on a second year in a row, I'll actually get to it. Next up, we have John Gwynne. I honestly can't believe that I haven't read anything by him yet. I think I'm just a bit too intimidated because I'm not well versed in like grimdark fantasy. I love fantasy. Okay, that's all romantasy, but up higher, there's a lot of fantasy. have a whole bunch to pick from. I think I want to start with The Shadow of the Gods, that series, or Malice. I know there's a read along going on that I just found out about from back in the books. They're doing a Faithful and the Fallen read along, so I might join that. I don't know. There's a lot of book clubs that I want to take part in. Again, too much Gene. Need to pace myself, but I am really excited. Then we have River Solomon. I'm really interested in The Deep, which is about a group of slaves who are being taken from Africa to the United States, fall overboard, and they become mermaids. Sign me up. Sign me up. Also, Sorrowland and then Model Home. That cover just really intrigues me. It's just so bright. And I know that has nothing to do, that's nothing to do with the quality of the book. It just makes me want to read another one of their books. If it works, it works. Then we have Allie Smith. I first heard of Allie Smith from Jen Campbell years and years ago, and when I thought I was going to be in like a lit fic phase, and then I never was, and now I'm kind of reading a little bit more lit fic. I'm easing myself into it. I'm just really curious about her writing, and there's a specific book that I can't remember, but I know there's a few that I do want to read. Next up, we have an author who I am kind of ashamed that I've never read anything by them because they are so popular. I think I'm gonna love both their books, and that is Erin Morgenstern. I've never read The Night Circus. I have not read The Starless Sea. Katie from Katie is Reading has sold me on needing to read that book. Magical Circus, competition, beautiful writing. What's not to love? Then we have the lit fit queen herself, Miss Sally Rooney. I have not read anything by her. I am not totally sure that I'm going to get along with her, but we shall see. Okay, the reason I don't know that I'm going to get along with her is because I heard that she doesn't use quotation marks in her books, and I know that could potentially really bother me, but I do read mostly on audio. You know, obviously you don't hear quotation marks in audiobooks, so I think that'll be helpful. But I am really interested in her mezzo, specifically in Miss Sally Rooney. All right, 7 more to go. Let's go. After Sally Rooney, I would really like to read Andy Weir. I have not read The Martian or Project Hail Mary. I'm just going to ignore Artemis because I've not heard good things about that one, specifically about the female characters. Anyway, I have somehow avoided spoilers for The Martian book and movie, as well as avoiding spoilers for Project Hail Mary, which is incredible to me. Like, that takes some skill right there. But anyway, I really, really, really want to read some really good sci-fi, and his books are perfect, so gonna get on that. Next up, I have Susie Dent. She is the wordsmith, the dictionary corner queen of 8 out of 10 cats, which is, long story short, I use YouTube to fall asleep. And that came up like a compilation from 8 out of 10 cats, and I've been obsessed with them. I think Susie's brain is incredible. I know she has a lot of nonfiction books. Oh, I am very curious, honestly, to see what she writes about, or if it's going to be a little too dry. I don't know. It's just going to be all about language, and I think that is really interesting. After Susie Dent, we have Roshni Chokshi. I used to have a copy of Aru Shah, the first Aru Shah book, because I met her. I went to a book festival in Rochester in like 2018 or something like that. Saw her speak, got to meet her. She came up, signed my book, and she was so nice. I was just like, yes, of course I'll read your book. And then I never did. It's kind of crazy to think that she only had like 1 or 2 books out when I met her, and now there's like so many. That's so cool. I love that. I did start The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, but I got really overwhelmed with all different books that I had. The end of October was just self-induced stress, basically. I didn't end up finishing it, but I do really want to continue on with it. Kind of calling it back to the first author and their themes, I want to read Ling Ling Huang. Natural Beauty sounds incredible. I really, really, really want to read that. I don't think I've looked up a synopsis for their new book out in 2025, but I'm also really interested in that one too. So, Natural Beauty. Hopefully, well, for sure, be read this year by me. This next author, I've heard really, really good things about. Kevin Wilson, their book, Nothing to See Here. One of the best covers I've ever seen in my entire life. I need to know about these spontaneously combusting children. Also, Kayla from Books and Lala loves it, so I trust her recommendations. I'm very excited for that. Second to last is R.F. Kuang, another one that I cannot believe that I have not read yet. I have The Poppy War up there somewhere. I was in Barnes & Noble and I picked it up. I was like, oh yeah, I want to read this one. Started reading it to see if I wanted to buy it. First sentence, straight away, hooked me in. I know that's very dark, and I know there's a lot of really tough topics covered, but I really want to read that because if you can hook me in the first sentence like that, I'm assuming that it's just going to be great. Also, I really want to read Babel and Yellowface and Calabasas, her new release coming out later this year. She's one of the authors that I am just so incredibly excited that there's a very long backlist that I can read and like sink my teeth into this year and, in the coming years. I'm assuming I'm not going to read all of them in 2025. I'm so excited. I can't believe I haven't read her before. Okay, and the very last author on this list is Joe Abercrombie. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about this one. I don't know that I've really read any grimdark, but I'm excited for it anyway. A lot of fantasy readers that I like and have similar taste to absolutely love him, and I just want to read about Galacta. I mean, among other things, obviously, but I'm excited for Galacta. I just think I'm gonna hurt, but also love it. All right, that is my list of 25 authors that I want to read in 2025. Let me know if you have read any of these authors, what you thought of them, what do you think a good place to start is, any of that. What's on your 2025 list? Are you a mood reader? Can you stick to TBRs? Anything. I'm very curious. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.